The annual Beckford Gala was the kind of event that made people whisper like it was sacred. Glittering gowns, three-piece tuxedos, ballet parking in a circle drive with a customized sculpture glistening just outside the Grand Estates ballroom. Or at least, that's what it was supposed to be. I was curled up on my sofa, barefoot, robe half-tied, sipping chamomile tea as I watched it unravel on social media. The Beckford estate had no catering. Zero. Some influencer wannabe cousin posted a blurry photo of silver chafing dishes with nothing in them. "Anyone know where the food went?" the caption read. Over 100 comments, most confused. A few gleeful. The chaos was starting to show. My phone buzzed beside me. "Dad. Call me." Then again. "Dad. Now." I sipped my tea slowly, savoring the hint of lavender. "My name is Elise Beckford. I'm 32. I live in Chicago, about 40 minutes from the family estate in Lake Forest, and roughly 5 million emotional miles away." I let it ring once before answering. "Hello? Elise." My father's voice, always stern, always controlled, cracked on the second syllable. "Where is the catering? Did you cancel it? What's happening?" I could hear the noise behind him, clinking glasses, murmured confusion, probably someone's kid crying. I imagined the room, over 100 guests waiting for oysters and truffle sliders that weren't coming. "You didn't respond to my last email," I said coolly. "What does that have to do with? I assumed you didn't need anything from me." Silence. On his end and mine. I could feel him trying to decide how to respond. Beckfords didn't yell, not in public. Not even when things were on fire. Especially not when things were on fire. "Elise," he said, more measured this time, "this is serious. Your sister's announcement is tonight. People are here from New York, from London. There's no food." I had to bring out cheese from the staff fridge. "I paid for the catering," I said lightly. "It was under my account." He went quiet. "I just thought," I continued, "since I wasn't invited, maybe I shouldn't be involved at all." "Elise," he started again, but I hung up before he could find his footing. I tossed the phone onto the couch beside me. Instagram was already blowing up with photos. Someone posted a video of my cousin David hovering near the empty dessert station, whispering to another guest, "She's gonna lose it. This is, like, her Super Bowl." I watched the chaos unfold like a movie I'd seen 100 times. The Beckford image, clean, polished, invincible, cracking. All it took was one invisible daughter stepping away from the shadows. I stood up, poured myself more tea, and smiled. They could deal with this one on their own. I wasn't the family's fixer anymore. Let them choke on the silence where my contribution used to be. It started with a text from my cousin Rachel, sent on a Tuesday morning with zero context. "Rachel, wait, you're not coming to the gala?" I was still in bed, scrolling through emails, when it lit up my screen. I stared at it for a few seconds before typing back. "Me, wasn't invited." "Rachel, what? But you're the one who planned it. Aren't you paying for the catering?" There was a long pause. I could almost feel her flipping through her mental checklist of Beckford politics, realizing something was off. "Rachel, this is insane." "Yeah, tell me about it." The week before the gala, I had been knee-deep in spreadsheets and contracts, double-checking invoices for the catering company, confirming the floral delivery times. Everything was supposed to run through me, it always had. For years, I was the one quietly making sure the Beckfords looked as flawless on paper as they did in the tabloids. I didn't expect applause. But I did expect an invitation. The realization came in pieces. A conversation with my mother about the guest list that trailed off awkwardly when I asked who was speaking. A group email thread that somehow never included me. A dress-fitting appointment that was moved without notice. All small things. But together, they told the truth. Still, I didn't fully believe it until I asked outright. It was Thursday night. I drove up to the estate, something I hadn't done in months. The housekeeper let me in without a word. I found my parents in the sunroom, Dad reading something thick and boring, Mom sipping wine and scrolling her phone. I stood in the doorway for a second, giving them time to register me. "Oh," Mom said, setting her glass down. "Elise, we weren't expecting you." "I noticed," I said, voice steady. "I just wanted to confirm something." Dad didn't look up. Typical. I walked farther in. "Am I on the guest list for the gala?" That finally got her attention. She glanced at Dad, then back at me. "Well, it's a very tight list this year. We're trying to reduce stress. Keep things elegant." I waited. She offered a thin smile. "It's nothing personal, sweetheart. You know how things are." I laughed, not loudly, just enough to make her wince. "Right. Not personal. Just removing the person who funded the event." "Elise," she said gently, "you're always so intense about these things." "No, I'm just done being convenient," I said. You wanted my money, not my presents. Dad finally looked up. That's enough. But it wasn't. I stared at both of them, really stared. All these years, I've cleaned up after you. Booked your accountants, fixed your tax messes, negotiated with vendors. And now I'm not the vibe? It's not about vibes, Mom said, standing up, her voice sweetening like she was afraid I might break something. We just thought it might be less pressure for you. Less pressure, I repeated. Right. I turned to leave. Elise, she called out, don't make this dramatic. I stopped in the hallway and looked over my shoulder. Too late, I said. You already did. And I walked out, more sure than ever that they'd finally taught me how they really saw me. Not as a daughter. Not even as family. Just as a resource. A credit card and a pantsuit. And I was done being used. The cancellation took less than 10 minutes. I was sitting at my desk in the loft, hair tied up, laptop open, invoices neatly stacked beside me. Everything had already been paid weeks ago, early, in fact. I had fronted the deposits myself, using my business account to secure the best of everything: aged cheeses flown in from France, signature pasta flown in from a boutique kitchen in Milan, 6 cases of Barolo that my father swore only existed in a certain hidden corner of Piedmont. I selected the file marked Beckford Gala and started clicking through vendors one by one. First up, the caterer. I opened the email thread, scrolled to the invoice, and clicked Request Refund. It brought up a confirmation window. Are you sure you want to cancel this order? Oh, I was sure. I hit yes and typed a quick note to the rep. Please cancel the full order. Client no longer needs event services. Request full refund per our agreement. Thank you. Next, the wine distributor. I knew the sales manager, Linda, personally. I'd worked with her on corporate events for years. I sent a polite message, requested a return on the unopened inventory, and reminded her we had insurance coverage on the shipment. Then the specialty bakery, the florist, the imported linens for the buffet tables. Each one folded like dominoes. By the time I was done, I had an email folder filled with refund confirmations. Nearly $50,000 coming back to me within 7 business days. I sat back in my chair, took a slow breath, and let the silence settle in. I wasn't angry anymore. Just resolved. Cold and clear. They wanted me invisible? Fine. I would disappear in every way that mattered to them. No food. No ambience. No perfectly timed arrival of champagne trays during the engagement toast. No distraction from the reality of who they were without me greasing the wheels. I didn't shout. I didn't send any dramatic messages. I just undid my part of the machine. Quietly. Completely. That was the part they never understood. I wasn't the loud one. I wasn't the rebel. I was the engine humming in the background. And they just shut the hood without realizing what kept them running. By 8 o'clock Saturday night, the Beckford estate looked exactly how I pictured it, full of stunned, underfed aristocrats in gowns and tailored suits, holding empty champagne flutes and pretending they weren't furious. I saw it all unfold from my couch. Someone posted a clip on their Instagram story of guests walking into the ballroom and staring at empty buffet tables. No servers. No wine. Just glimmering candlelight over stark white linens that had nothing on them. At Avabrooks_events, wait, where's the food? Someone replied in the comments, did the staff walk out? By 8:15, I got the first call. Declined it. Then another. Then a text from my cousin Rachel. Rachel, please tell me you didn't cancel the catering. I ignored that, too. It wasn't for her. It was for the people who thought I'd sit quietly while they erased me. At 8:26 p.m., my phone rang again. This time I let it buzz a little longer. My father's name flashed on the screen. I waited until it nearly went to voicemail, then answered. Elise. His voice cracked. What the hell is going on? There's no food. Guests are starting to leave. Your sister is in tears. I held the phone away slightly and stared out the window. Chicago's skyline glittered in the distance like nothing in my life had just shifted. I assumed, I said, since I wasn't invited, you didn't need anything from me. A pause. Elise, don't do this. I'm not doing anything, I replied. I simply removed myself from something I was never part of. You could have said something. I did, I said flatly. I said it the second you took my name off the guest list. Another pause. Your sister's engagement announcement was tonight. I almost laughed. Of course. They'd built the whole evening around her, her grand reveal, her ring, her moment. And now? Now she had a room full of angry guests whispering about how the Beckfords couldn't even serve dinner. They had to bring out crackers from the bar, he added. For investors. I stayed silent, letting the image settle between us. He sighed. You've made your point. No, I said softly. I haven't even started. And then I hung up. A few minutes later, someone posted a video of my sister, mascara smudged, fake smile frozen, trying to make her engagement speech while people shuffled toward the exits. I sipped my tea and refreshed the feed. The silence I'd left behind was finally louder than all the noise they used to cover me with. By Tuesday morning, the whispers had become a chorus. Aunt Clarice called first. She never called me. "Elise, sweetheart," she said, in that slow, southern-tinged drawl she put on when delivering bad news. "I wanted you to know before it spreads too far. Your mother's telling people you had a breakdown." I blinked. "A what?" "She says you canceled the gala catering because you're unstable. Emotional. She's telling folks you've been struggling quietly and that we should all be patient with you." My mouth went dry. Aunt Clarice lowered her voice. "She said you've been under too much pressure lately. That this wasn't a betrayal, it was a cry for help." I laughed once. Just one sharp, humorless sound. "Of course she did. Elise," she added carefully, "you didn't do anything wrong. Just know some of us see through it." "Thank you," I said quietly. When we hung up, I sat in my loft staring at the ceiling, heart thudding like I'd just been accused of a crime I hadn't committed, because in a way, I had. I'd committed the unthinkable Beckford sin, setting a boundary. And now they were spinning it into insanity. By afternoon, it was all over the extended family group chat. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years chimed in with comments like, "We're praying for Elise." Maybe this was her way of reaching out. "Has anyone heard how she's doing mentally?" I stared at my screen in disbelief. They weren't talking to me. They were talking around me. Like I wasn't in the chat. Like I was too fragile to even read it. I typed out a reply 3 times. Deleted it every time. Then, just after 6, my phone rang again. "Aunt Clarice. She's rewriting it," she said the second I picked up. "Your mom. She's talking to friends, the board members, even the pastor. Telling everyone you've had emotional issues for years. That the gala mess was a breakdown, not a reaction. Of course she is. She's painting you as ungrateful. Says you were always too sensitive. That you've had resentment building for years." I closed my eyes. "And not that they used me for my money and erased me from my own family's biggest event. That part got left out," she said gently. I nodded even though she couldn't see it. "Thank you for telling me. Elise," she said, a little firmer now, "don't let her do this. You know how fast lies move in this family. If you don't speak up, her version becomes the truth." "I know." I hung up, walked into the kitchen, and poured myself a glass of water with shaking hands. My mother hadn't just erased me from the guest list, she was now trying to erase my narrative entirely. And I understood something right then. They weren't panicking because I canceled the food. They were panicking because, for the first time, I wasn't swallowing what they served. And they had no idea what to do with a Beckford who didn't stay quiet. I hadn't planned on going to Christmas. After the gala disaster and the quiet smear campaign that followed, I figured the Beckford house would be more hostile than festive. I imagined my mother pinning on her brooch with trembling hands, already rehearsing lines about how I wasn't well enough to travel or needed time to recover. But then I remembered someone else who'd been erased from the Beckford narrative long before I was. My grandfather, William Carter Beckford, my mother's father. He hadn't set foot in the family home since I was 12. No one ever said exactly why. One year he was the head of the table carving turkey, and the next, his name was whispered like a curse. My mother always said, he made choices that hurt the family, and left it at that. But I remembered him differently. He used to sneak me jelly beans during Sunday dinners, wink at me across the table when my mom was lecturing me about posture, and once gave me a tiny leather notebook that he said was for truth only. I found that notebook 2 weeks before Christmas, buried in a box of old keepsakes. And just like that, the idea formed. I called him. He answered on the 3rd ring. His voice was raspier than I remembered but still warm. "Elise? Hi, Grandpa." There was a pause. Well, I'll be damned. We talked for 2 hours that night. About everything. The gala. The lies. The way the family rewrote reality. He didn't sound surprised. Just tired. And when I told him what they said about me, he didn't ask if it was true. He just said, "Want me to come to Christmas with you?" And I said, "I thought you'd never ask." Christmas Day. The Beckford estate was wrapped in twinkle lights and silent judgment. I pulled up to the front in a navy wool coat, hair down, face bare except for lipstick, crimson, unapologetic. My grandfather stepped out of the passenger seat slowly, in a black overcoat and a cane that clicked against the stone driveway. We didn't ring the bell. I opened the door with my old key. The hallway went silent the second we stepped inside. I could feel it, that ripple of panic when the illusion shatters. My mother was by the fireplace, mid-laugh with a cousin. She froze, glass halfway to her lips. Elise, she said, voice tight. You didn't say you were coming. I stepped forward, my voice even. I figured since I'm still family, I didn't need an invitation. And then Grandpa stepped beside me. The room stopped breathing. Her wine glass tipped slightly in her hand. Dad, she whispered. What? Why are you? Wouldn't miss Christmas, I said, cutting her off with a smile. Then I took my coat off and hung it on the same hook I used when I was 8. No one spoke. No one dared. For once, I was the one writing the story. And I brought the ghost they couldn't bury to prove it. It didn't take long for the backlash to hit. By the next morning, the family group chat, usually filled with chain prayers and blurry brunch photos, lit up like a siren. Not a single message addressed my name directly, but the tone said everything. Cousin Marla, I just don't think dragging up old family drama is in the spirit of the holidays. Uncle Ben, some people would rather make a scene than keep the peace. Aunt Valerie, I hope Elise gets the help she needs. Classic Beckford communication, passive, self-righteous, and loud enough to hurt. Then came the private messages. My aunt called. Your mother is beside herself. She said you brought that man in just to humiliate her. That man. Her father. She's telling people you've become delusional, my aunt added, voice hesitant. That you're spiraling. That you're not well. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the floor. There it was again. Not angry. Not rebellious. Mentally unstable. It was how the Beckfords buried anything that didn't fit the image, blame it on the person's mind. That way they never had to confront their own behavior. She's rewriting it again, I muttered. Elise, my aunt said gently, you might need to say something. Clearly. I nodded. I opened the family group chat. My fingers didn't shake. Not this time. Me. I am not having a breakdown. I am not delusional. I removed myself from a pattern of being used, and I'm finally saying no to being erased. That's not unstable. That's called boundaries. Then I left the chat. I didn't wait for a reply. There wasn't one. Not a single one. For once, the silence was mine, not the one they forced on me. A calm declaration, not a storm. No drama. No shouting. Just a statement they couldn't twist. Clean. Unshakable. And this time, they'd have to lie a little harder if they wanted to paint me as crazy. Because everyone had seen the truth, him standing beside me. The ghost they buried. The daughter they dismissed. I wasn't fighting anymore. I was documenting. It was 3 days after Christmas when I got the message. Jeremy, hey, can we talk? I stared at it for a while. My brother never texted me first, not unless he needed a favor, or a ride to the airport, or help with taxes. He'd always been the golden boy in the quiet way, the peacekeeper. Smiled at the table, nodded along, kept his mouth shut. He never defended me, never questioned our parents. He just floated through it all, untouched. I didn't respond right away. I wasn't sure I wanted to know where this was going. 2 hours later, another message followed. Jeremy, I saw what you did. At Christmas. With Grandpa. I think you were right. That got me. He called that night. No small talk. No how are you. Just a quiet sigh, like he'd been holding his breath for years. I saw her face when you walked in, he said. Like a glitch in the Matrix. And I thought, maybe that's how she's always seen us. Like pieces she gets to arrange. I didn't say anything. I just let him talk. I knew she lied about the gala, he admitted. I knew you weren't invited. I didn't say anything. I told myself I was staying out of it. Neutral, you know? Switzerland, I said softly. He laughed once, bitter. Yeah. Except Switzerland still picks sides when the bombs start dropping. There was a long pause. I'm sorry, he said. That was the part one didn't expect. For not standing up for you. For letting her twist everything after. I heard what she told Uncle Nate, that you were having an episode. I should have said something. You still can, I said. I will, he promised. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't some emotional reckoning. But for the first time I heard the crack in the wall. The tiny fracture in the Beckford illusion. He wasn't calling to fix me. He was calling because he'd started to see it, too. And that was enough. Not to heal it all, but to prove I wasn't crazy. The truth had always been there. It just needed a witness. I agreed to Sunday dinner because I wanted to see how far they'd go. My mother sent the invitation as if nothing had happened. Just a breezy text. Mom, dinner at the house Sunday 6 p.m. Let's put this behind us. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just a summons disguised as olive branch. I said yes. Jeremy picked me up. We didn't say much on the drive, but there was something different about the way he looked at me. Not wary. Not defensive. Just quiet solidarity. The Beckford estate looked as perfect as always, manicured hedges, clean driveway, the lights warm and staged like a real estate photo. Inside, the table was set with precision. My mother's favorite china. The gold-rimmed glasses reserved for investors and magazine spreads. She greeted us at the door like we were party guests. "Elise," she said, air-kissing my cheek, "you look tired." I smiled politely. "You look rehearsed." Her smile thinned. We sat. Roast duck, truffle potatoes, the usual performance. My father stayed mostly silent, occasionally clearing his throat like he wanted to say something but remembered not to. Jeremy sat beside me, unusually alert, hands folded in his lap. It didn't take long. Halfway through the meal, my mother set down her fork and cleared her throat. "Elise, I think it's time we addressed what happened." "By all means," I said. She folded her hands. "What you did to the gala, canceling everything at the last minute, was vindictive. You embarrassed this family." "No," I said calmly. "You did. I just stopped covering for you." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't twist this." "You used me," I said, still even. "You took my money, my time, my silence. And then you cut me from the one event I made possible." "You're making it about you," she snapped. "It was your sister's night. And you didn't think I deserved to be in the room?" She took a sharp breath, trying to find the high ground. "We were trying to reduce stress. You always bring tension. You question everything." "I bring accountability," I said. "You just don't like how it sounds." "You canceled the food," she burst out, voice climbing. "Do you understand how that made us look?" I was humiliated. Jeremy finally spoke. "Good." She blinked. "Excuse me?" He leaned forward, voice steady. "You deserve to be embarrassed. You lied to us. You lied to me. You pretended Elise was unstable instead of admitting what you did." "That's not true," she said, but her voice shook now. "You told Uncle Nate she had a mental breakdown," Jeremy continued. "You told people she was dangerous. And all because she wouldn't let you keep using her." My mother's face crumpled, just for a second. "I was embarrassed," she said finally. "Is that what you want to hear?" I didn't want people asking why my eldest daughter showed up in work clothes or didn't have a date or wasn't married yet. There it was. The truth. Not remorse. Just exposure. I stood, placing my napkin on the table. "That's all I ever needed to know." She looked up at me, startled. "Elise, I'm not angry anymore," I said. "I'm just done." Jeremy stood with me. My father didn't move. My mother sat frozen, a woman who'd finally run out of ways to spin the story. And for the first time, she was the one left out of the narrative. I didn't slam the door when I left the Beckford estate that night. I didn't storm out, or cry, or turn around for a dramatic final word. I just walked. Jeremy beside me, quiet, hands in his coat pockets. There was nothing left to fight over. No ground to reclaim. I wasn't chasing apology anymore. I had stopped needing her to understand. At the car, he turned to me. "You good?" I nodded. "Better than I've been in years." He didn't say anything else. Just hugged me, quick, awkward, but real, and drove off without asking when we'd talk again. That's how I knew it meant something. No performance. Just presence. Back at my loft, the city lights blinked through my windows like nothing had changed. And maybe to the world, nothing had. But inside, everything had shifted. No more checking my phone for damage control. No more rehearsing responses in my head. Just silence. Beautiful, unpressured silence. The following weeks passed quietly. My mother didn't call. Not once. But my grandfather sent a handwritten note folded into an old holiday card. "Proud of you. Always was. Keep going." My aunt texted every few days, nothing dramatic, just photos of her dog in a sweater, a recipe link, small lifelines to remind me I wasn't alone. Jeremy called, too. Not often, but enough. We didn't talk about the past. We talked about what came next. He was thinking of stepping away from the family business. Said he finally saw what it cost to stay obedient. I told him to let me know when he was ready. One night, as I sat on my couch sipping tea, I glanced over at the empty chair across from me, the one I used to imagine filled with someone's approval. A mother's, a father's, a family's. Now it was just a chair, and for the first time it didn't feel hollow. It felt clean. Like space. Like choice. Like freedom. I smiled to myself and whispered the words out loud, just to hear how they felt. The empty seat isn't a loss. I took another sip, warm and steady. It's my liberation. And with that, I closed the final page on their story of me, and started writing my own.